afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out today. It's always a great occasion. We can bring in a great crowd like this out at the ballpark, especially when it's the first part of December. As you can see by looking out the window, one of the main things that we did this year was the new grass field, and looks absolutely amazing. So I think after this we can play a pickup game if you want to. So, but again, thank you all for coming. It's an amazing turnout for everybody here. For our organization, and it's just kind of the next step in South Bend baseball today with the unveiling of our new logo, the new look of our home uniform, and it's just, again, it's another step in everything that we've done. It's been about 2.5 months since we had the original announcement, and I just want to say thank you to everybody because the buzz in the community has absolutely been tremendous, and we're very appreciative of that. So at this point, what I'd like to do is introduce team owner Andrew Berlin. He is the one that truly had the vision about 3 years ago of kind of coming in, purchasing the team, and I like to say he had a great hire, so I thank you, Andrew. But again, at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Andrew Berlin, talk a little bit about the logo change and really what this means for the community and us as an organization. So, Andrew?
Thanks, Joe. Thank you. It was a good hire. That I can say for sure. As many of you heard me say in remarks in the past, we signed the contract to buy the team November 11th, 2011 at 11:11 a.m. Truth. It was a good day, but there were storm clouds over the team at the time. Attendance was coming down at a startling rate. The community was starting to lose some confidence. The field needed a lot of renovations. I was never a fan of artificial turf. And I really had never watched a Diamondbacks game in my life. And the brand was strong in Arizona, and they're a terrific organization, and we loved working with them, but we also knew that the affiliation didn't necessarily resonate with the community. Still, one of the best things that came out of the Diamondbacks affiliation was not only great baseball and working with some great baseball executives, but we were able to end up with meeting and then keeping and retaining an organization, Mark Haley, was a former manager of the Silverhawks, and he's with us today. And his friendship and his loyalty and his dedication to the organization, being part of the organization going forth, means a great deal to us. Mark will be running the what we're affectionately calling the Cubs Cage, the building that's being built on the right field fence today that will house the pitching tunnels, batting tunnels, and the fitness center for the Cubs that will all be a baseball-centric fitness facility. It'll be open to the public when the Cubs aren't batting, but even when they are batting, our fans, kids and adults alike would love to have them taking batting practice with the Cubs at the same time. So we'll work that out in the off season and during the season, but it's going to be a lot of fun. But when we bought the team, we focused a lot on the customer experience. Again, some of you have heard me speak about this before, but we needed to get the fans back. So we needed to come up with a solution to fix a park that have better food, better service, cleaner park, a place where we could delight in serving and surprising and delighting our fans. And so we focused a lot on that, whether it was from the experience in the parking lots or walking to the turnstiles or how they're greeted throughout the day, what they experienced walking through the concourse, what they saw from their seats. We did our best to make this place a fun place, clean place, and a safe place for adults and children alike. From the splash pad to the inflatables, and to my favorite, the tiki bar, where there's an adult-only zone. You could even have a cocktail while you're watching the game. One of the best seats in the house. We improved the seats, we improved the suites, we built new suites, and we did everything for the fans. And that primarily took up a lot of our capital expenditures for the first 3 years. But all during this time, in the back of our minds, we were thinking about how can we end up with the affiliation that this community really wanted? How could we attract an organization like the Cubs? And the Cubs, though happy for us with our increased attendance of 140% over the last several years, they made it clear to us that the customer experience, though good and certainly indicative of a strong management team and leadership, it was really about player development. Because if you think about it, they're sending us their boys, ages 18 to 22, 23 years old, some born in Hispanic countries, don't speak the language, they're not familiar with the culture. They needed a place where they knew that player development and personal development was a priority. So we set on a plan to, number one, we said we've got to do something about the field. Now the field has artificial turf has lower operating expenses. You can play more games on it. You can have concerts very easily on it. You can do a lot to it, and it'll take a beating. But we needed to go back to grass. So we immediately went to the one guy I know who does the best grass around here, and that's Roger Bossert, the head groundskeeper of the White Sox, affectionately known as the Sod Father. And Roger agreed to do a minor league park for us. He did Wrigley Field. He's done U.S. Cellular Field with the White Sox. I think he's done 12 other major league fields around Major League Baseball. And he came to South Bend really as a favor, but also as a challenge. He wanted to pull up the old field, redo the irrigation. He wanted to build a field that even with a 1.5 or 2 inch microburst of rain, the field would drain within 10 minutes. It had to be a very special field. Under that grass is far more sand than there is any soil. But it's a special field, and it absolutely looks beautiful today. And I have to echo Joe's remarks. It's my first time actually seeing the grass in person. I've seen all the pictures, and when I did come out here once, it was already covered with snow. But to look at it now, it's going to be a beautiful green by the time opening day comes. I'm very excited about it. Moreover, we had to focus on the batting cages. For any of you who had seen our batting cages that Mark Haley and his team struggled with in the past years, he's probably wondering, why didn't you do this when we were the Silverhawks? It was in the maintenance building behind center field. And I think we had to move the groundskeeping equipment out of there, and we had to slide things around just to get one batter in there to work in a tunnel. And so what we've done is we're building this on the right field fence now. It's going to be special. And even the clubhouse downstairs, which I think the media will have an opportunity to see after this press conference. The clubhouse, as you might imagine, is a place where the players are before and after the game. And if any of you have played baseball or have known any baseball players, you know the baseball players don't just show up an hour before the game and leave right after the game. They're there for 6-7 hours a day on game days. So it's more than just a locker room and a locker. This is their living room. This is their family room. This is where you have esprit de corps and a sense of bonding and union between your players. It's essential to player development. And in addition to all of this, Joe has worked out alliances with various educational institutions in the area that we'll be announcing at a later time to help our players with financial planning, budgeting, English as a second language, and even cultural studies of what it means to be an American and live in America. All dedicated to player development, intellectual, physical, well, maybe even spiritual if it comes to that. And it was that really attracted the Cubs. And when the brief time that they knew us and they saw what we were up to, what we were able to accomplish with the fan experience, they knew that with execution and discipline and precision, we would pull off a great player development story. Everything I've described here will be the gold standard out of the 160 minor league teams coast to coast in the United States. South Bend will be the best. It will be the gold standard. It will be another reason to put South Bend on the map. And so the Cubs voted for South Bend. And so the Cubs are coming to town. Yeah, I'll clap to that. I know this may sound a little hollow coming from a White Sox investor, but I mean it. I am economically driven, number one, so of course we bring the Cubs to South Bend. But I'm also supremely envious of the kind of organization the Cubs have. They have some brilliant people running that organization, from Tom Ricketts, the owner, to Theo Epstein, president of baseball operations, Jason McLeod, the vice president of scouting and player development, Jed Hoyer, the general manager, Shiraz Raymond, the assistant general manager. I mean, these guys and their team of people are flat out some of the best I've ever seen. Moreover, last year's Cubs farm system was voted by Baseball America as the #1 farm system in the United States. And on top of that, the Cubs have freed up enough payroll to buy the free agents that everybody dreams about. I have no news to offer the media or their fans today. I'm not in a position to do that, but I will say I have a great deal of confidence that the South Bend Cubs are going to be part of something much, much larger in the very near future. So what's in a uniform? Everybody showed up to see a uniform today, because the uniform, I had to put it in context, because I think about this as a storyline. It feels like a fairy tale, but it really is reality. The uniform is important because of some of the obvious things that we know about uniforms. It's solidarity, it's teamwork, it's bringing people together not just for accomplishing their own goals and objectives, but be part of a team where they help others achieve mutual goals and objectives. It draws people together on a team, and in the sports environment, it draws fans to the players and draws fans to the team. And in this case, because the iconic Cubs logo is part of it, it ties South Bend Cubs to the Chicago Cubs. This is about partnerships, this is about alliances, this is about relationships, but this is about a uniform that draws us all together for the shared experience of winning games and being part of sport that really is America's pastime. The logo that you saw in September earlier this year in the press conference we had with Cubs management was a temporary logo. It was one that we had to offer where we could just show the Cubs logo with the word South Bend next to it. It was a temporary logo that was approved by minor league baseball and Major League Baseball for its use for one day, that day. There is a long, arduous process to get trademarks and logos and trade dress and all of the intellectual property behind the Cubs logo approved for use in South Bend. It requires the Cubs approval, Major League Baseball approval, minor league approval, and of course ours. We went through literally hundreds of different variations and iterations. We listened to the feedback from the fans. There were fans that didn't like the name Cubs, who wanted to keep the Silverhawks. If we get rid of the Silverhawks, how are we going to continue to give a nod to South Bend, to honor the heritage and the history, whether it be of Studebaker or anything else? How would we tie it to the Cubs in Chicago in an appropriate way, but still make it something uniquely South Bend? We listened to that, and we came up with a primary logo, and all the logos go with it. So with that, why don't we do an unveiling now to show two logos, the one that is the new primary logo of the South Bend Cubs and where it came from. As you'll see in the old Studebaker logo, we picked up some design elements from it. The stripes and the circle. It almost looks like Studebaker was connected to the Cubs hundreds of years ago anyway. But you can see the font, the letter typeface of South Bend utilizes the Studebaker font. That's the nod to our heritage and history in South Bend. As for the ivy and the lower portions of the logo, this is our connection to Wrigley Field. And for those of you who may be wondering, yes, we will be planting ivy in center field here at Four Winds Field. But ivy goes dormant this time of year, so we have to plant it in the spring. I believe it's Boston ivy. It is Boston ivy. And Joe has learned more about how to, what's that? Is someone to correct me? Is it Boston ivy? It's Boston ivy. Boston ivy. That's right. That's right. If there was Chicago ivy, we would have gotten it, but it's Boston ivy. Joe has learned more about how to tease ivy down rather than up, because we have to plant the ivy above the center field wall and actually tease it down. Our head groundskeeper has told us that's the way it has to be done. And so you'll see that the logo will be used on the jersey, will be seen throughout the apparel, but it also becomes part of our brand. It becomes part of the flag that unites this community, and it's a mark that will be hopefully cherished by our fans, young and old. So I'm going to turn it back over to Joe, and Joe is going to unveil the apparel and show you the uniform for the new South Bend Cubs. And to the media and to the fans, and especially to the fans, I know some of you took time from work. I see some young folks here that probably got pulled out of school. I'm really happy to see them here. I'd leave school to come here too. So I'll turn it over to Joe, and again, thank you all for being here.
Well, thank you, Andrew. As Andrew mentioned, this was a process that took approximately about 60 days. And from the time we made the announcement, minor league baseball has some unique rules that you have 60 days to get a new logo, a new brand put together. So we went right to task on that. And I think this is a beautiful nod and a great way to tie in our logo to Studebaker, and then also incorporating the Chicago Cubs, the most iconic brand in all of baseball. The next slide, or the next foam board, we'll show you some of our alternate logos. For us, it was very important that we had some unique marks of our own. Obviously, the Cubs logo is extremely important, but also we're South Bend as well. So we wanted to create some unique elements, obviously tying in the bear head, the SB for South Bend, and this again was something that we can utilize for merchandise, various opportunities, something that our community can truly be proud of. It's a very unique look. I can honestly say I love the colors, the red, white, and blue. But again, this is something that we're extremely proud of, and we put a lot of time and effort into it and had a great designer that helped us with this as well.
I just want to add one thing. When it came to the face of the bear, we had a lot of discussions and went through a lot of different variations here. And ultimately, we ended up with a bear with a little bit of attitude. It's a irritated bear, not the friendly little bear from Chicago. So this is the bear that wants to win. So I just want you to know.
Yeah. Most certainly. And again, those are some of the details when we got some of the original drawings that we wanted to make with this. So as Andrew mentioned, there probably were literally hundreds of different variations of this logo. And we're very proud of this. We hope the community is proud of it, and we hope it's something that the community can certainly get behind. Obviously, probably one of the main things is the uniform. So on the next slide is what our home uniform will look like. We're going back to pinstripe, so we're going to use the pinstripe logo, or the pinstripe uniform. We're also going to incorporate our primary logo on the left chest, and then also one of our secondary logos for a sleeve patch. But the other thing we wanted to show today is what our hats are going to look like. So as you can see, we've designated the various hats and the way the design will work for those. It's been something that you can see a little bit of attitude on the bear, as Andrew mentioned. Hopefully it gives us a little bit of an edge down on the field. But again, this is something that we wanted the community to be extremely proud of. And I can't thank Andrew enough for giving myself and Nick a lot of latitude to really kind of move forward with this logo. But yet again, his guidance and direction on some of this really tied in the final elements of what we were trying to accomplish for this logo. So,
Especially the attitude.
Especially the attitude. There's no doubt about that. So with that being said, the next step is on to some merchandise. And we do have merchandise available out in the team store. Again, this is just a small sampling of what we'll ultimately have come opening day. The logos were only approved about a week and a half ago, so needless to say, UPS and FedEx have been extremely busy making trips here to the ballpark. But no further ado, Nick and Lou. Andrew, any further words?
No, I think we could open it up to questions and go from there. Any questions?
Is there a rhyme or reason to the alternates in terms of like when they'll be worn, like red Sundays? I'm just curious.
No, a lot of that really is determined by the players. Specifically the pitchers. They're very superstitious, so if they won last time wearing whatever they wore, they typically wear it again. But for us, these are all logos that will be worn on field, with the exception of the batting practice that's done during batting practice. But they'll have the opportunity to use any combination. We did go with the solid blue with the bear head with the red stripe around it, or a circle around it. We've kind of designated that as our home and road, but the players will have the opportunity to wear the various combinations. Yeah, we're going with a gray jersey that'll have South Bend across the front of it for the road, and we're working on a alternate home jersey as well. Part of the rules and regulations for minor league baseball, within that 60 days, the home jersey had to be finalized. The other ones can wait a little bit, so that's something that we're trying to finalize now as we speak. But I think it's sharp. I think our players are going to look great on the field. One of the other new things that we're going to do this year for our players, because again, we want them to feel special and know that we care about them. The home jerseys this year will also have the player names on the back, which is something that we have not done at least the last couple of years here. Again, those are small details, but the players feel like they're in the big time as well. So, any other questions?
Small, medium, large, extra large, all available.
Most certainly. Yes. Yes, actually, anybody that wants to go out in the team store, they're more than welcome. It is open. The media, I'll be giving tours down to the home locker room so you can see some of the improvements with that as well. What do you think? Take some of the fans down if they want to go down there too?
I think if the fans want to go look at the clubhouse, you made it all this way to come to the field. I think the fans are welcome in the clubhouse as well.
Most certainly. So Nick will give tours to the fans that came to see the home clubhouse. It's amazing, the new look down there. But again, we appreciate you coming out. We want you to see and be a part of today's special event as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.